why don't you do the formal introduction for our guest?
Yeah, everybody, this is Brad Kohler. If you've seen any UFC highlights, you've seen him. He had that one-punch knockout at UFC 22. And I mean, Brad has had a very expansive career, beyond that one punch, and also, Brad is an inventor and an entrepreneur, and so he's going to talk to us about that as well. So, welcome, Brad.
Thanks, guys. Good to be here. How are you?
We're doing
Great.
Awesome, man. Very happy to have you on our show here in Evil and Intoxicated. First off, it's been a wild year, man, 2017, and of course, you've seen the game change quite a bit since you started. So far in this year, what's really stood out to you in the MMA community?
Well, what's really stood out is a lot of inconsistency. Just not knowing who to follow. With the fighters, a lot of drama. I think there's not the camaraderie that used to be. There's just so many people to follow anymore. And of course, the women's division is just constantly crazy. So.
Brad, what do you think about this new concept of the money fight? Kind of Conor McGregor kind of brought that in. That you don't necessarily have to defend a title, even after you've taken that title. But you go after the money fight. Whatever fight gets you the most money, that's what you go after. And we've seen other fighters follow suit. What are your thoughts on that?
It's kind of like boxing. It brings boxing to mind where, it's all really about the money rather than the sport. And it really kind of ruins the sport because, you get all this hype. I mean, if you look back at the Tyson days, I mean, my gosh, you'd spend all this money for a pay-per-view to watch Mike Tyson. You'd wait all these hours and finally get to watch him in the last 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You got two cheese dicks right now between Mayfield and McFaggot. And, all they do is talk. It's like, really, why don't you just fight? I mean, that's what real men do. Just go fight. All this hype and social media about this is just absolutely ridiculous. It's, Dana White throwing out money. All of that does, they're never going to fight. They're never going to fight. The loser will never hear the end of it. And both of those guys just can't shut up. Well, I mean, they're two hens in a hen house.
Yeah. I mean, it potentially could be the biggest fight of all time. I mean, when you look at it, I
agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Personally, I love to see it. I like to see both of them shut up and just fight. I mean, it's fun sometimes, but it gets old. It's like, okay, guys, let's just have one big showdown of who's the biggest shit talker. Maybe have a wrap off or something. I don't know. And then get to the ring, get to the cage, whatever it takes, See,
I wasn't going to start the show off on this subject, but while we're on it already, I mean, I got to ask you if they are going to do it, if they do Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather, which probably they will, since, Mayweather came out, it's a big money fight. And I've been saying it all year, I guess. It's a guy's night out for us to just go out and have a fun night.
Right.
Well, I got to ask you this. This is what everyone's really hung up on is if this does go through, should they add more dream matchups between MMA and boxing, like Anderson Silva kind of wanted, his big fight for a long time against Jones Jr. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it depends on the rules. I don't really think McGregor is a solid boxer. I mean, he's a solid MMA guy. There's no question. But MMA and boxing are two different stances and completely. It's completely different strategies. So, I mean, it depends on the rules. I mean, flat out street fighting, bare knuckles, I'd still go with Mayweather. I would. Now, that guy is just an incredible athlete, still young. And I think he's a lot stronger than McGregor. I just think that it's going to be a stand-up game, and Mayweather's smart enough, got a great camp. He's going to learn how to defend a takedown on top of being a superb athlete. I just don't think McGregor would win, if it's more of a stand-up game. I I just don't.
It sounds like Conor's willing to go though to Mayweather's territory. He's willing to get into the boxing ring, but and do just a straight boxing fight. But Mayweather doesn't want to do the opposite. Mayweather won't step into the octagon. It sounds like.
Hey, these guys they're not stupid. They made that kind of money because they're smart. Now, I mean, only a smart guy knows how to make more money. Now, these guys, they're going to talk it up. Of course, McGregor would go into his own. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, for that kind of money, who wouldn't, guys? Come on.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
seriously.
Brad, you don't think that Conor, to Conor, it's not going to matter whether he wins or loses. He's just walking away with a pile of money.
Yeah.
Well, you know, a legacy is a legacy. It's really, you know, what you get. A lot of guys get out of the sport nothing but. I mean, I talked to Mark Coleman today. He's getting ready for a second hip surgery. I mean, another hip replacement. This guy's poor Mark Coleman, one of the legends of the sport, probably one of the greatest fighters of all time.
Yeah.
And I mean, he doesn't have that kind of change, nowhere near that. So these guys, to get what they're getting out there, and they're still young, to have that much money, it's not a really. I can't say they're dumb. I mean, they're assholes, but they're not dumb. You know.
Yeah.
Well,
And you know, and their persona in public, I would say, personally, they're probably decent guys. I mean, this is their showmanship, and I get all that, but God, I'm sick of it. You know.
So it wasn't like that in the early days of the UFC. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about how things have changed. What was it like at UFC? I think the first one you were at was 15.5, and then again at UFC 22. What was it like?
Yeah.
What was the atmosphere like and everything?
You know, the guys were all cool. I mean, you see each other in the locker room. You see each other, you know, it wasn't nothing like the talking, you know, getting the weigh-ins where you're getting up there and trying to create some kind of social media buzz. But we didn't have social media back then, okay? I think we started dial-up telephone, you know? But, you know, it was so different. I mean, you think of these guys today, and if we could transport them to yesteryear, would they train on pure carpet rather than these mats today? Because I'll tell you, me, Dave Monet, and Sean Shirk, we had carpet. We didn't have mats. If you look back at the original Minnesota Martial Arts Academy, the academy where Brock Lesnar and myself and Sean Shirk, Dave Monet came out of, you know, back in there, we didn't have mats. We had carpet. You know, Mark Coleman, all those guys, I mean, they fought in these schools that had no jiu-jitsu mats, you know. And then how do you train for a fight that has no periods? How do you train bare knuckle, headbutts? How do you train that today? Because these guys don't know how to train that. No, they would go, I quit. They would. Because I'd lay on top of them. I would be more than happy to throw a headbutt on a couple of these guys. And I guarantee you they'd quit. They can't. It's a whole different game. Again, I respect it. They're still great athletes. It's just a different game.
Well, I was actually speaking with Dan Sever not too long ago, and he was telling me the same thing. He was like, we didn't even know who our opponents was, usually until the day of the fight sometimes.
Hey, my you talking about 15-5. My opponent changed 3 times for my playing right out there. It went from Vitor Belfort, which I still have the contract to fight Vitor Belfort.
Wow.
He didn't want to fight me because I just got done, you know, fighting for an hour and 10 minutes against my conditioning. I was a wrestler. He just lost to Randy Couture. He didn't want to fight another wrestler that was in shape. Then it was someone else. Then it became Trey Telligman, and that was a good fight. You know, me and Trey had a good fight. He was a great fighter, a big guy, and but I'm on my plane ride to Japan, and by the time I landed, Monty Cox, my manager at the time, told me that, well, it's either this one or this one. I'll call you back in an hour and tell you which one, because Vitor bailed, and that was the way it happened. So, yeah.
And you're lucky you even got a call while you're on an airplane in that day, I bet.
Oh no, I called as soon as there was a call for me. I'm like walking in Narita Airport in Japan. Brad Kohler, telephone call. Brad Kohler, you know how you hear the Japanese people. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I pick up the phone. It's Monty Cox, and he's like, hey man, how was your plane ride? You know, 11, 12 hours. You know, I slept the whole time. I'm a terrible passenger, but we're talking. He's telling me this, that, or the other, and next thing you know, I said, "Oh, okay, no big deal. We didn't care. We just want to fight, you know." And there was no change in the purse. There was no change in the contract. The only change was the opponent. So, yeah.
Wow. So Brad, tell us, how did you say you grew up in Minnesota, so you had a wrestling background.
Actually, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I wrestled here at Fairview Park. Yeah, they got me to Bloomington, Minnesota, is where I trained out of.
Oh,
but I'm from Fairview Park. I was a state champ here, Division I, and had a great wrestling community. Went on, actually played football in college, and then left college and came back to Columbus, met up with Mark Coleman, and we started training together for about 5 years. He got my fat butt back in shape, and he's a hell of a trainer, hell of a guy, and I tell you what, he's a great friend.
Hey, for everybody oh, I'm sorry, Ted, you can go.
Oh, it's all right, Eddie. I just wanted to ask Brad how he got. So that's how you got your start in mixed martial arts. You hooked up with Mark Coleman and you started at the Hammer House.
No, actually, this is the true story. And Mark will tell it just a little bit differently. But we're out one night. We actually just got back from Vegas at the Nationals, and we got back and we're out for like a night jog after training, and we're running down High Street in Columbus, and we see all these football players from Ohio State out in front of this bar called Victory, right? And we stop. Mark knows them while we're talking to them, and so we're out there just talking to these big dudes. I'm the shortest, smallest guy, because at the time I was only 180 pounds, okay? And this drunk guy comes plowing into all of us and just shoves me to the side. I open my mouth and, I say something. He says something. Coleman puts me up against the wall because the cops were coming. Ah. And Coleman's like, "Kohler, don't, cops." And I'm like, "Oh, sorry, officers, I wasn't going to do anything, And the cops walk up to us and go, "No, this guy's been causing trouble at 3 other bars. We're going to go this way. If you guys decide to do something, it's on you," right? So I game on. So I go after this guy, and finally he turns around and wants to fight me. I've never done a chokehold in my life. Probably never did one in practice or in a fight, but this was my one and only chokehold. I ended up choking this guy. He comes at me again. Now, Mark Coleman says I did a spinning back kick, but there's no way, okay? My legs ain't getting up there. He must have been really drunk or something, I don't know, or exhausted from the run. But I didn't do a spinning back kick. I just gave him my right arm cross. I just came across his right arm, and he was bleeding before he hit the ground, and he was out. And, of course, Coleman, keeping my name completely silent during this whole time. The crowd's he's like, "Kohler, let's get out of here. Come on, Brad. Kohler, let's get out of here." I'm like, "Oh," he's yelling my name in front of great anonymity there. And so we're getting in the car, and he's just, "I got to get in this UFC. I got to get in this UFC." And I'm like going, "Mark," I go, those guys are crazy. We were watching this on TV, right? Yeah. This is 1996. And we're like, this, So he makes a call. He had 30 days to get ready for his first fight, and flew to Arizona and started training for it. And I'm like, okay. I ended up moving to Minnesota with my ex-wife and my daughter, and started training for it up here at the academy. And Mark's first fight, he got right into it because of his, elite notoriety in wrestling. And I started with the hook and shoot with Jeff Osborne.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually took that fight by short notice because one of my teammates got hurt. So about 2 weeks into training, only 2 weeks of training, I ended up fighting Travis Fulton, and that was 57 minutes long. Bare knuckles, headbutts. And then, of course, I had 2 fights after that were about average 20 minutes apiece. So within 3 hours, I fought for about 2 hours, which you will never see again. And that's what I'm talking about, the times of changing, because you're talking about 8-man tournaments. you'll never see that again. And that's where the money should be paid, to see who really can withstand that kind of punishment. So
Right. I mean, you're talking 3 fights in one night. I mean, that
well, if you recall, Coleman's first tournament, where the night Ferozzo beat Tank Abbott, because there was a big hype about Coleman Abbott. Okay, well, Abbott lost to Scott Ferozzo, and then Ferozzo's in the back room with oxygen and IVs, practically dying. I mean, it was like a seal on the floor, just flopping around because he couldn't breathe, and then he wouldn't continue. And then the alternate wanted nothing to do with Mark Coleman. And that night, Kevin Randleman and Mark Coleman did an exhibition for the crowd, and they got booed right out of the place. But I'll tell you what, it was, it was just, that's the other problem with an 8-man tournament, athletes being able to finish. So
right. Got to have lots of alternates.
Right. You do. And remember, there really wasn't much weight class back there. The weight classes were just one. There was just one weight class. So when you talk about, ultimate fighting, it's not really ultimate fighting anymore. It's MMA weight classes. Pick one. Ultimate fighting started off with no rules, no rounds,
the no holds
whatever,
barred, yeah.
Right. That's what the name was built on. It was any size of any technique. And that's the true ultimate fighting.
So what have you been up to as of lately? I mean, I know that you're doing, you're on another part of this journey here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I've done everything from promoting to managing, training fighters. I still do some Naga shows every now and then, competing, which is great because that's such a well-organized program with Kip Kohler. But several years ago, I invented, a couple boxing machines, and it seems to be really taken off. I've stuck with it, was persistent about the vision, and one in particular that's taken off is called the Combo Hitter, and it's really taken off right now. We got some major distributors. I can't mention the MMA company that's preparing because we haven't signed papers yet, but Rogue Fitness, which is world known, the largest in CrossFit, sells more of my combo hitters than any other boxing apparatus. And Elevate Fitness, they start this week, and they're the largest fitness distributor in the world when it comes to supplying complete gyms or home equipment. So it's great to be with companies like that they're the biggest and best what they do. And my product was just introduced at URSA as the product of the year. And so the combo hitter is getting a lot of momentum right now. There's been a lot of great fighters that have used it. Of course, Mark Coleman's got one in his basement. He won't let anybody put it on video. But when they did that UFC Where Are They Now, you do see Mark hitting it on the video.
Oh, wow.
So that'd be real cool. And then, of course, Wes Sims and Stipe Miocic and the gym Strong Style, which is Marcus Marinelli's gym that Jessica I and Stipe Miocic and a lot of other great fighters train out there. They use quite a bit of my equipment that are there. That the combo hitters are in several rooms, and they use them all the time for not just fitness but the pro fighters. And a lot of MMA schools. Chudabu over in Avon, which is a judo school and an MMA school. That's where I train. They have them. So we have over 100 gyms, couple hundred homes, a couple of schools for anger management. Parkinson's, it's really taken off in the Parkinson's community because it's a much safer unit to use than the heavy bag. It actually, Case Western Reserve and Kent State did a research study for the Parkinson's patients showing how it eliminates trauma by 99% as opposed to a heavy bag because it gives in every direction. It's like a speed bag mounted to a wall. So the Parkinson's community has really taken off with it. And a lot of the fitness gyms, because you walk up to a heavy bag and you hit it you can get that trauma,
Yeah.
if you're not properly wrapped or know how to use that technique. With the combo hitter, with your worst technique, without it, gloves, you may feel it a little bit, but you're not going to have that trauma you would from a heavy bag. So it gives in every direction. It's very safe. It's priced accordingly. It's taken some time to finally get, the momentum going. But, it was sacrificing that steak for ramen noodles for a few years and then getting it on the market, so.
Brad, how did you come up with the idea for it? Or maybe first you could describe for folks what it looks like, and then tell us how you kind of developed that whole idea.
Well, the combo hitter is, like I said, it looks like a marshmallow. And who doesn't like marshmallows? Okay, so it looks like a marshmallow that's mounted to a metal plate that is also adjustable in height and tension. It's got 8 bungees on it, and the pivot in the middle it's basically virtually indestructible. You can't break this thing. And we actually did a contest up in New York, $1,000 if you can break it. And I usually try that in most of the shows I go to. So if you can break this thing, you'll win $1,000. But I can probably put up a little video of it right here for you. Let's see if I can find someone famous that has used it. So,
all right.
It's I was training for a comeback in 2007, and then what happened was my training partner didn't show up, so I got really frustrated because I don't like the heavy bag. It swings and sways. You got to chase. You got to stop it. It spins, and I just don't like the heavy bag. It's just old. It's the same old. I like combinations, uppercuts, hooks, and things you can't throw in a heavy bag.
Yeah.
So I started toying around, and so here's the combo hitter, and there's a really good. As a matter of fact, I think this is Dwayne Johnson's supposed to be the sexiest man alive or something like that. I think this bald guy's even sexier. Okay?
All right, let's see.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, that is one big black marshmallow right there. And one sexy dude.
I'm telling you, right?
And you're hitting it for all it's worth.
I used to test every one before I send them out and make sure they were safe and indestructible. And now it's so busy I can't do that, but I do package every one of them. I make sure it's done right. I make sure it's done, every one that goes out goes from my place here. So I do every one. I make sure the directions are in there. I make sure I'm available if they have any problems. It seems like I said, the momentum is going with this product. I have 3 other really great products we're going to introduce probably in the fall that are attachments to the rail system that the combo hitter goes up and down on, so you can raise it in height. It actually goes down to wheelchair level too for some of the cerebral palsy people that we have using it. And it's a great exercise. And I'll tell you what, everybody that hits this thing smiles. That's the best thing about this, because you get these kids with frustration that are in high schools at anger management, and all of a sudden they go down there and they're all mad and they start punching this thing, and now they're smiling. So it's kind of cool.
So are there routines that you guys got set up? Like, all right, you get the product at your door. So now I'm opening it up, I'm setting it up, I'm ready to go. How do I learn how to use it? Are there techniques I can go on a YouTube page and see how you use it? Are there
if you one that has really been watched a lot lately is Derek Getzel. He does a phenomenal job with explaining this and moving around it. And I tell you what, Derek Getzel is a former CFX lightweight world champion. He fights out of Minnesota. Really, really good fighter. But his hands are just amazing. And, jiu-jitsu too. It's just, he's just one of those weight classes that, just can never get a break. And he's just a phenomenal fighter. But I'll pull up a video of him doing this. And I think, once you see this, you'll see just how versatile the machine is. And Here we go. All right. You see him moving around it.
Yep.
Kicking it.
Yeah, you can practice your head movement too.
Head movement.
See that?
Head movement.
See that?
So can you put this on your wall at home or in your basement? What are the? What
It's
do I
actually
need to-
made for the home. What's crazy is it's made for the home. It's the rail system or the plate itself are 16-ounce square,
Wow.
so it goes right into the home stud.
Wow.
So if it's
Wow.
commercial, I'd say put the boards up because the commercial are 24 on center. So put up a sorry, let me shut that one down. So the commercial ones walls are 24 inches apart for the studs. So either put like a 2x4 on top and bottom, or a piece of plywood, and it's sturdy. The strongest punching apparatuses are either ceiling or wall mounted, and most even the bag racks these big steel things that take up so much floor space. The wall mounted bag racks are anywhere from $2,000 to $6,000, depends on how hard is the mount, how big it is. Speed bags are mounted to the wall, and very durable, very safe, but loud. Speed bags are very loud compared to these. They're very quiet. So it's the wall is your best bet. Anything floor mounted or weighted on the floor, it just has no stability. So there's a certain fighter out there that's got a shaved head too, Bas Rutten or something like that, some guy like that, big no name, right?
Yeah.
He has those Boss machines, but if you ever see them, you have to put like 300 pounds on these things, like a Wave Master.
Yeah,
great
there's all these
concept.
Arms and stuff.
You
Yeah,
got
great concept, but they're $650 for every piece. So if you want to have a versatile machine that you can punch, kick, hit all different types of angles, and now you got to put like 300 pounds down, and it's made of aluminum, and it's very expensive. The combo hitters you can get on Rogue website at $249, Elevate Fitness, or mine. Their shipping is a little cheaper than mine because they sell in they ship in such volume. I just can't get a great shipping price just yet. So, but you actually get a better price shipping through either Rogue or Elevate Fitness, and unless you live here in Ohio, I'll deliver it personally, But
Own
yeah.
the land.
Right. The Buckeye State, right?
Well, you were mentioning Stipe, and of course he's from
Yeah.
the land. Have you talked to him or had any?
Oh my
run-ins?
God, yeah. See him all, yeah. I mean, we're not like great friends, but we see each other all the time. I'm at Strong Style, with the equipment. He's training very hard. He's doing well. He uses the equipment a lot. Every now and then you'll see a Snapchat of him using either my combo kicker, which moves up like a heavy bag. It's against the wall, and he loves the combo hitter. So I really don't get any fighters to endorse it anymore. It's just not. That's really never been my market. It's been mostly for I thought this was more for the kids or the housewives because it's a little softer. The heavy hitter that I invented first is more for fighters. I just haven't gotten that to a manufacturing price where I can make it at an affordable cost. But that one, when that is introduced, you'll see how amazing that product is. So,
it's called the heavy hitter.
yeah, it's like another wall-mounted machine that has these shocks on it that has up to 800 pounds resistance pressure, and it's just one-dimensional. It just goes back and forth, back and forth. So you can either do jab crosses on it, or you can do front hooks, and then you can do, you can flip it and do both sides. But it's for building power, and you have to have really good technique hitting this, kind of like a heavy bag, but you have to have really good technique.
Yeah. Well, Brad, speaking of hooks, let's talk about that punch, that one punch that I'm sure everybody has seen. It was UFC 22. You were fighting Steve Judson.
Yep.
The fight only lasted 30 seconds. Walk us through that from the bell all the way through.
Well, this was a short notice fight for the both of us. The guy I was supposed to fight, I don't remember the name, he bailed, And then Steve jumped in the night before the fight. Now, he just came off a jiu-jitsu tournament, so I know he was a black belt and at the time 4-0 in MMA. And he was a big dude. I mean, that guy was, when he came in, and they called me down at midnight to witness the weigh-ins with Monty Cox. And yeah, I'm a smart ass. Steve was a little serious about, coming in and being his first UFC and, so, and he's all tattooed up, right? And they go, Brad, you want to look at the scale? I'm like going, yeah. And I look at him, I go, man, that fucker had some big arms, excuse me. I mean, he was a big boy. And I looked at his tattoos, I go, that isn't going to rub off on me, is it? And he just looked at me like, what? And I'm like, oh, he didn't get the joke. I'm going back to bed. He's good. Good night, And so next day, I didn't get to see any video or nothing on him, but I just talked to a couple people, and they said, don't go to the ground with the guy. He's very agile, very flexible. He's got a phenomenal triangle that you can't get out of. His omoplata. I'm like, oh, great. Okay, so take him down, try a little ground and pound, and try to mount him, right? We had a little bit of a scramble, and I didn't feel comfortable down there. And right away, I said, okay, this guy is agile, because I took him down, and last time I had ankles like that by someone's ears, she was a very flexible girl. But it was like, wow, this guy's a cat, So we scrambled back up, and I said, all right, now it's, let's go to stand up. And I kind of just faked the shot and came across with my cross. And I think because everybody said I take everybody down. I mean, there wasn't anybody that I fought that I did not take down. And I think that was what he was expecting. And it just landed perfect, I mean, it was one of those things. So, yeah.
And the way you threw it, Brad, you had your, and I just watched it again today, you had your hand way down by your hip. That's a punch that you don't see very often, I don't think, anymore. But you're able to generate a lot of power doing it that way, right?
Well, I actually trained with Rich Giacchetti before my first UFC. And my stand-up was just terrible. I mean, yeah, I could wrestle, but my stand-up was terrible. So I came back here to Cleveland to train in Mike Tyson's training camp. Now, I didn't get to train with Mike at all, but Rich Giacchetti was training Mike Tyson at the time. And he had said, you have got to be able to get in and out quick because I'm so short. And, of course, I'm like, listen, man, I do hit my head on the rim when I'm playing basketball. I don't know what you're talking about. And he said, you got to get used to in and out, in and out, in and out. And so I did, and it worked on Trey Telligman real well. I just wasn't confident enough in my punching game because I only trained with Rich Giacchetti about 3 weeks before that fight, which was like 2 or 3 times a week. But I mostly just wrestled at the time, So I wasn't really confident in my stand-up game. So it took me a few years to really develop that setup and that confidence of getting in there and no, I'm going to take a punch, but I'm going to give you one too, and who's going to win? So if I could set it up right and time it right, I was, and it worked a couple times, it wasn't just the one knockout. It was a couple that I got, pretty good ones on.
So you actually fought overseas as well. What was your craziest experience that you've had over there?
Watching Maurice Smith and Boss Rutan play videos till 2 a.m.
Explain that a little bit.
These guys were, it's like, this was when we signed to Ring. So the UFC wasn't going to re-sign me after that knockout punch. Matter of fact, they didn't pay me the rest of my money from that knockout punch.
Wow.
And that's the old UFC. That's not Dana and Zuffa. It's the old guys,
You're talking about Semaphore Entertainment Group.
SEG.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Meyerowitz and, So, the guy Maida, Japanese guy right then and there. I mean, right after that fight, Mike Goldberg interviewed me, and as I'm walking back, Maida offered me a contract. And many fighters, I was actually the first UFC fighter to sign to Rings Japan.
Oh,
I think
Akira
Germany. What's that?
You're talking about Akira Maeda
Maida, yeah.
from Rings Fighting Network.
Rings Japan, yeah. And so I think Jeremy Horn and Randy Couture followed. But, so I'm like, oh, interesting. What do you got? So we started talking, and the UFC did not want to offer me a multiple fight contract. I didn't have many years left I was 35 at the time, I believe. So I was getting up there. I wanted to try to have a couple good years. And, they just wouldn't offer me anything that was solid, and Rings did. They opened the door to me and offered me an 8-fight contract right away. So, I gave UFC the opportunity, and they said, nope, we can do 2 fights for $2,000 apiece. I'm like going, well, they just offered me 8 for 8 apiece, and that's 1 year contract. And so I was out there quite a bit, fighting, and I didn't do so well. Fighting in a ring is different, it's just weird, it's like pro wrestling. You can't. It's hard to take it serious because you're in a ring, I mean, it's like boxing. Who takes that serious, right? Just kidding, as a kid. But no, it's just really weird fighting in a ring instead of a cage. And even Randy Couture lost out there because it was just a different atmosphere, different rules. So, I had a couple good fights, had a couple bad fights. It just is what it was. And now I was fighting injuries. I was getting old. This stuff.
So you were talking about watching Bas Rutten and Maurice Smith play video games.
Yeah.
What was
those guys are so funny. Oh my gosh. I miss the old guys. We had so much camaraderie back then. I mean, even me and Trey Tellyman walking to the fights together. Then all right, good luck out there. I mean,
and you were fighting each other.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like Wile E. Coyote and the dog, the sheepdog.
Right. But he's a gentleman. He's a good guy, right? And a lot of those guys from that camp were Guy Metzger, Bollinger. The only the only dick was Ken Shamrock. Now his brother Frank was real cool, but Ken, we call him Kendra. But most of those guys from that Lionsden area, Texas, were great guys. Yeah.
So I know you're bringing up Shamrock. I know that his son is fighting now. Do you have any children that are into the scene, or what's going on below you?
No. Ken Shamrock's son's fighting?
Yeah, for Shamrock FC, a matter of fact.
Oh, okay.
All right. Huh.
Well, good for him. Hope he does better than his dad did. No, I don't. My kids are my younger ones are in sports. My older ones, they were okay. They weren't anything. They just loved it. They just loved to compete for the fun. I didn't push my kids into sports. They let them do what they want to do. My 2 youngest ones, though, are really excelled in sports, and they're in 8th and 9th grade, and they're really doing well. I don't care if they don't do sports or they just want to do academics. What it does to a lot of athletes and their bodies is something I'd hate to see my kid going through. I've been lucky, but not every athlete out there that's put their body through being a world-class athlete can walk away and saying they have no more pain. Their knees, their hips, their back, their shoulders, it's not many out there
Ted,
that can say that.
I don't mean to cut you off on your question, Ted. I just want to get this out there really quick. So the Fighters Union, of course, they were trying to build that to get, a fair handshake. Do you think they can, succeed with that, or do you think it's a ways away?
What's going to happen is Ronda's out of the business, so you need to have the top fighters be the leaders. And, it's going to have to come one day where, those are the ones that are going to cost the UFC a lot of money to say, we're not going out tonight. There's a table. We negotiate now, or we're not going on tonight. And they need those leaders out there, and it's got to be a fighter. It's got to be the top fighters. Randy, Tito, Coleman, Chuck Liddell, they all got taken advantage of. The guys that paved the way for these guys making millions today, that these guys need to stand up for the fighters that are fighting out there for $1,000 or less, while the UFC is making a shitload of money on them. They need to stand up. I mean, that Ultimate Fighter, I don't know, do they get any money at all? I mean, they get a stipend for being there or whatever. But, I mean, really, you know how much money they get paid, the UFC makes? They just sold the company for $4 billion.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, so if the company that bought them could afford $4 million, really you can't regulate some pay a little bit better and make sure that these guys – how about medical insurance? How about we have before and after tests on these fighters to make sure that trauma is not going to be there for 3, 6, 8 months after their fight? How about making sure that is covered if it is pre-existing injuries like that? It's not. It's just not. So what's going to have to happen is really the fighters are going to have to take a stand, boycott fighting, and really put them right where it counts. When it's pay-per-view night, they just sold a bazillion sales, and they said, guess what? No one's going out until you sign these papers. They got to hold these guys by the short hairs. That's the only way, because they'll drag this on with their lawyers forever.
And Brad, you mentioned the top guys. Like Conor McGregor has said, maybe at some point he'll support a union, but he's thinking for himself right now. He's not going to support it right now because he's probably concerned that that's going to bring his paycheck down a bit.
It certainly would.
Yeah. So
it's certainly good. So how do you respect a guy like that as a co-fighter? I mean, how do you do it? I mean, right. You got a guy who's. I mean, you got Weidman. I mean, here's a guy right there that, never got that kind of a payday. But, I mean, Silva never got that kind of a payday as McGregor. And certainly deserved it, if not somewhere in that category. But with Reebok and this endorsement stuff going on, that's another hose job. You got to force these guys to wear Reebok. Well, man, I mean, what if, these guys could say, hey, look, I got a $20,000 sponsor if I just put on their shorts.
That would help so much.
You can't do it. Can't do it.
Yeah.
So you're taking away for the fighters more than just not paying them well. Mm-hmm. You're taking away from their health by not looking after them. And frankly, without some kind of guarantees, without the fighters taking a stand, and there's just so many fighters anymore. Like, you can't keep up. And there's not some jerk off out there that just got off the freaking bar stool that they can't call and say, hey, we got to fill in tonight because these guys are boycotting. You want to do it? Sure, they'll cross. Who doesn't want to be on pay-per-view? So, it's going to be real hard to do. It's just going to be real hard to do. I don't see it ever happening unless the fighters absolutely just say 100% we're not doing this anymore until we are protected. Football did it. Baseball did it. NBA did it.
Yeah. And some of the fighters did it, but not. There was like a group.
Look what happened to them. You see them fighting anymore?
Right. We haven't heard anything. We haven't heard boo from them in months. But Brad, I wanted to go back to your career. You talked about joining rings, and so I was looking at your career. You were on an 11-fight losing skid. How difficult was it for you to go through that? And then your last fight you won. You right before your last fight before you retired, I guess.
I was 47.
was that your plan? You're like, I gotta get one more win before I go out. Was that your idea?
Man, I tell you, I had 9 arthroscopic surgeries on my left knee, major on my right. Shoulders, my right shoulder kept dislocating. I finally got it fixed. Took me some time to make it come back. Went through, time with I had aplastic anemia and had a lot of treatment on that. It just, you know, it was just really hard because, you're really never 100%. And when you get to that age, you don't heal as fast and your recovery is, 60% slower. What do you do? They started drug testing. They started doing this, they're doing that. And next thing you know, it's the things that could help you can't use, or you won't get paid. The little that you're getting paid for what you do. And so it was hard to maintain, and then you never knew who you were fighting anymore. It changed all the time. And so it was just an honor to do it, win or lose. It was a great experience. I met so many phenomenal people. I think I got more out of that than competing, whether they were fans or the fighters. I mean, I met a lot of great fans that I still keep in contact with. But you get up there in age. It's a young man's sport. My first fight, I was 33 years old.
Wow.
And then I went for 14 years after that, up and down the ladder. Win, lose, loss. So finally, you go, that's it. I can't. I had to shut off my life, move into the gym, and for 5 months, I didn't leave a gym. I literally lived in the gym, ate there, slept there, showered there, brought my food in there. I stayed in the gym 24/7 for that last fight. And believe me, that wasn't even, I think the only one that if I would ever fight again, would be Ken Shamrock, because everybody else has beat him. But, it was just, I was in Minnesota fighting a 33-year-old guy, about 230 pounds. I was actually ranked in the top 10 in Minnesota. So it wasn't a slack. So I was like, okay, I want to go out there and, for myself, and try to end on a good note. And had some good training partners, good coaches, Chris McCune, Roland Larson, black belts out there, Derek Getzel, Matt Larson, who's a heavyweight fighter. So, I mean, I had a good training crew, but it's still hard, And you're in your 20s and recover, and you're, I mean, arrogant, cocky, and have nothing to lose. It's a little easier to do it, Yeah.
So before we let you go here, I got to ask you, one more question.
Yeah.
Of course, you were talking about Vitor at the beginning. You were supposed to fight him. He actually brought up that he would be interested in having a Legends League kind of with the UFC. I know it's a long stretch away, but do you think that's a good idea somewhat?
I do. I think there's a lot of nostalgia behind that. I think you would get a lot of the fans that remember us old farts to watch it. I think it'd be fun. There's a lot of guys though that I mean, even Vitor is younger. I mean, I remember when Robbie Lawler came into Militich's camp at 17 years old. So that's how long Robbie's been doing it, and Rich Franklin, and you think of Anderson Silva. I mean, when I fought in WEF against Ronaldo Babalu, I had a 3-day notice. I was actually pro wrestling at the time, and Anderson Silva fought Jeremy Horn that night. And I mean, I thought, wow, this guy is just amazing, and he was still going. So you think about some of the old guys that can actually do it anymore. I mean, I think it'd be really cool.
Did you have to change rules though? Like what changes do you?
Yeah, 30-second rounds. You have to have a pillow in the corner for a little nap time in between. Oxygen right there.
Yep.
No, I think. I think you'd have to change the rules. I think 5-minute rounds for anyone in their 40s is a long time. So I think 3-minute fights. I think you'll get that equal action in a 3-minute fight, and I think it'll bring back some good memories to the fans of some of the guys that made the sport. I mean, you think about. I mean, wouldn't you like to see Chuck Liddell and Randy Couture again, or Tito and Chuck? Or I mean, I would. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, see those guys go at it one more time. You know, I think that would be awesome. Yeah.
And now we've got Hoist Gracie saying that he would fight Matt Hughes one more time.
Yeah, yep.
He's a fool. That guy's a fool. I mean, it's like, I've seen Hoist lately. I mean, he's only about $160. Matt Hughes, on a worst day with the flu, would beat Hoist Gracie at 100%. Hoist Gracie got into this. His first several fights were so rigged. I mean, they practically owned the UFC. I mean, there wasn't any competitors, and when they started having competitors, he got out. I mean, he's very technical, but he'll never win against Matt Hughes. I mean, that one I'd bet the house on. Maybe your house too. I don't know.
Well, yeah, like Pat Miletich said, the Geritol posse. That's what he was calling it, and it kind of looks like Bellator they've done that for a number of fights. They had Gracie versus Shamrock, and
how about that one? I mean, Shamrock got transparently kneaded in his vagina and falls down. I mean,
yeah, that was a weird fight.
Or even better yet, Kimbo Slice. He's another one that should have never have been in there. I mean, yeah, he's a great street fighter, this and that, but it was kind of an embarrassment to the sport when you bring a guy in. Then, of course, the most dangerous man in the world couldn't even choke out this guy when he had him in a rear naked choke.
Yeah, what was up with that? I thought I did a video on it. I said the fix was in there. I said that had to be something something strange going on there.
Like I said, that's the only fight I'd come back and do, because like I said, I know it's a guaranteed win. All I want is my expenses paid. I'd do it for that nothing.
To fight Shamrock, you would fight Shamrock.
Oh my God, are you kidding? Tell him to bring his balls out of his wife's purse this time. Maybe he'll finish the round. Jesus.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on our show. What we like to do at this point, of course, Ted, if you have another question or the chat room, we like to get that out there.
People are calling you Peyton, Brad, but that's only because.
You know what? My Skype wasn't working. I'm sorry.
No.
So I used my daughter's. Yes. So I didn't want to miss out on this opportunity with you guys. So I apologize for the name change.
No, that's all right. Because Ann was saying, "Hey Peyton, you rock, bro." I said, "No, it's the guy from the UFC."
No, I don't cross-dress on the weekends.
God, I almost called you Peyton.
Brad, yeah, there you go.
Oh my God,
I heard.
Oh my God,
that's great.
Brad, how can people get in touch with you? And if they're interested in the combo hitter, how can they get at that?
Well, combohitter.com. It's just one word.com. Combo hitter. Or you can email me directly at bradfightmn, like Minnesota abbreviated, at yahoo.com. So BRADFIGHTMN at yahoo.com. Be more than happy to answer any questions, or if you have any inquiries on the combo hitter, I'd be more than happy to answer that for you.
Awesome. Great.
So,
and one final thing, Brad. So you're still training. You said you've got me that you go to.
Oh yeah, I train full time still. I work out of my home, raise my kids. I'm still
look at that
getting there.
Crap.
So yeah, I did actually 225 for 50 reps on the bench yesterday.
Wow.
So I mean, I still roll. And I'm nowhere where I used to be, but I enjoy it. I just the camaraderie is the best thing about the whole thing. I love the gym. I love the jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and they're just a great bunch of people. It's a great bonding. Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate you. We really appreciate you coming on today's show, and of course, we gotta have you back on sometime in the future to talk a little bit more about some of these epic, historical stories that you got, and what we like to do. What we like to do.
Yeah, I can tell you, I'd love to do some more stories. I got some good ones. I'm sorry we didn't have more time. So.
Well, what we like to do at this point is if you have any sponsors, any shout outs, anything at all, the floor is all yours.
You know, I'm highly involved with my Fairview High School football boosters in the wrestling program there, and I just love being part of that. And I thank these guys over here in Fairview, where I grew up, to let me be a part of all of that and help out the kids in their program. We did a phenomenal job raising money for the weight room that got at Fairview, a brand new weight room. So all the people in the Fairview, the boosters, PTA, and the faculty, I love you guys, and I appreciate being a part of this. So.
Thank you so much, and best of luck in the rest of your journey. And we hope to talk to you
guys.
soon.
Thank you, Brad.
Talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.